Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. It's so wonderful seeing you all here, and also with appreciation to our virtual attendees. I'm Alexia Hudson Ward, Associate Director of Research, Learning, and Strategic Partnerships for the MIT Libraries. On behalf of our director, Chris Berg, I welcome you to our hybrid MIT Reads Spring 2025 event. Our MIT Reads program invites the MIT community to hear from leading authors and to engage in solution-centered discourse on some of the most complex challenges facing our campus community, the nation, and the world. Thank you so much for joining us here in person and online. Now, before we begin, and because we are all friends, I'm going to ask you to place any device that rings, chimes, chirps, barks, meows, or moos into vibrate or silent mode, please, right now. Our event tonight will be recorded and posted for future viewing. Many thanks to Sylvia Figueroa Ortiz, Aya Fujita Ross, and Emily Kramer of the MIT Libraries Community Engagement Team for coordinating tonight's event. Special thanks to our co-sponsors, MIT's Women and Gender Services Office, the ICEO Office, and Mind, Hand, and Heart for their generous financial support. And to our promotional partners, MIT Health, the MIT Press, and the Graduate Student Council's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee for their assistance with promoting tonight's event. Our feature book is available for purchase this evening from the MIT Press, who have a table set up adjacent to this meeting space. And also our colleagues from the MIT Health Unit are here giving away some goodies as well. The event flow is as follows. After introductions, our speakers will give a presentation, and then we'll move into dialogue with our speakers and the moderator. After the dialogue, the floor, both virtually and in person, will be open to your questions. The authors have also generously provided some of their workbooks, and we will raffle them off at the conclusion of tonight's event. After our event, we invite those who are attending in person to join us for a book signing and also the light dinner that's hosted by the libraries. And actually, the books are already pre-signed, so you can pick them up from the press accordingly. And so now on to the introductions of tonight's speakers and moderator. Many thanks to this evening's moderator, Dr. Karen Singleton, who is the Deputy Chief Health Officer of MIT Health. A graduate of Barnard College, Columbia University, and the City University of New York, Karen was also the Interim Executive Director of Student Health Services at Columbia University Medical Center and the Director of Student Mental Health Services prior to joining MIT Health in 2016. She is the past director of that school's Sexual Violence Prevention and Response Program and a practicing clinical psychologist with expertise in sexual trauma, grief, eating disorders, and issues related to race, ethnicity, and sexual orientation. She has consulted to a wide range of organizations and publications, including the United Nations, Essence Magazine, the Journal of Ethnic Minority Psychology, and the Take Back the Night Foundation, and has served on mental health and well-being advisory committees for many universities, including Princeton, Harvard, Cornell, and the University of Chicago. Karen is one of the proud recipients of the 2021 Leighton Whitaker Memorial Award for Excellence in Counseling Center Scholarship, and also serves on the advisory board for the Health Systems Initiative at MIT Sloan. We are pleased to welcome Dr. Emily Nagoski and Dr. Amelia Nagoski, who are, yes, sisters and identical twins, and the co-authors of the New York Times best-selling book, Burnout, The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle, referred to as, quote, a primer on how to stop letting the world dictate how you live and what we think of ourselves by Bustle. Burnout thoughtfully approaches complex topics such as human giver syndrome and unlearning helplessness with compassion, wit, and a plan. Emily is also the New York Times bestselling and award-winning author of Come As You Are, the surprising new science that will transform your sex life and come together the science and art of creating lasting sexual connections. She earned an MS in counseling and a PhD in health behavior, both from Indiana University, with clinical and research training at the Kinsey Institute. She now combines sexual education and stress education to teach women how to live with confidence and joy inside their own bodies. She lives in Massachusetts with 2 dogs, a cat, and a cartoonist. Amelia, Amelia was the associate professor and coordinator of music at Western New England University. She specializes in educating others on the application of communication science and psychological research for audiences of other professional musicians, including embodied wellness for conductors. She has a doctorate in musical arts and conducting from the University of Connecticut and lives in New England with her spouse and her pets. Please join me in welcoming both Amelia and Emily to MIT. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Oh, I have the power. For those who are wondering, I am the Emily one. This is the Amelia one. My pronouns are she, they, for the record. Yeah, we need to update your bio. Oh, probably. That's a new thing. Whatever. Keep going. Okay. So we talked about it this afternoon, and we were like, we want to get as much science in as fast as possible. So we're going to skip a lot of the fun, entertaining anecdotes. But if you saw that photo of us as children and are interested to know the story of the missing front teeth, please ask that in the Q&A. I tell the story in my most recent book, Come Together. Okay, so we're starting the story with me because I'm a musician. How did I come to co-write a book about stress, especially like a socially and science-informed book about stress? And you can go ahead and click the thing, because the answer is that person over there. When I was in my doctoral program, I was hospitalized twice for stress-induced illness. And meanwhile, Emily was writing her first book, Come As You Are, the secret, whatever the subtitle is. I don't even know. I'm so sorry. When she went all around the world talking to women about the science of women's sexuality, which is what that book is about, they would come and say to her, Amelia, Emily, whoever you are, all that sex science is great, but you know the part that really resonated, the part that meant so and changed everything for me, was that one little part about emotions and stress and processing your feelings. And she was really surprised. I was. She spent so much time on the sex science. And I was not surprised at all, because she said no shit. Yeah. Because I attended a conservatory, and in my musical training, I was taught explicitly how to process and express emotions for the purpose of performance on stage. What I did not learn was that that was the thing I could apply day to day. And when I did learn that stuff, it saved my life twice. And she said, oh, we should write a book about that. So if you click the slide again, that book will appear. And there it is. It's Burnout is the result of that. So what we're going to talk about today, click the slide again, are those things, the things that I learned that saved my life when I was the most burnt out people get without dying. And that's going to be 7 concrete, specific, evidence-based things you can do to feel better right now. Our goal is that as you are sitting here with us today, the way you feel now will be improved by the time you leave this room. Heck yeah. I'm hoping that's a realistic goal. We're also going to tell you, look, is there anybody aware who already knows that sleep is good for you? Do you know? Sleep, good for you? You already knew. So there's going to be, some of this stuff is going to seem obvious. So we're going to talk about why, even though we know some of this stuff, we're not already doing it. The answer is not. Because otherwise we're just up here like exercise, sleep, right? Friends. Yeah. The problem is not that you're not trying hard enough or that you're not already working hard enough. You are already trying as hard as you can all day, every day. So why doesn't it work? We're going to talk about what that barrier is. And of course, because we are focused on solutions, how to overcome that barrier. So we got to define our terms first. We're going to talk about what burnout is. And first, we need to give our definition of wellness, which is wellness is not a state of mind or a state of being. It is the freedom to oscillate through all the cycles of being human, a state of action. So stress is not your enemy. Getting stuck is your enemy when you are no longer free to oscillate, which is why we're starting here in what looks like a deep, dark cave. It's not a cave, it turns out. It's a tunnel. So if you're going to get unstuck and escape the tunnel, that's a fantastic metaphor. As Emily says, emotions are tunnels. You have to move all the way through the darkness to get to the light at the end. And yes, she choreographed the hand thing. Yep. So how do we get unstuck? How do we get out of the tunnel?
Oh, can I do this whole part?
You got to do the whole thing, yeah.
Excellent, great. I'm
Make
probably
it a hippo.
gonna end up like standing up and walking around. Both of us are physically disabled by long COVID because long COVID. But I often cannot resist getting up and walking around. So if you remember nothing else, I'm going to say this multiple times. If you remember nothing else, remember this one thing. The process of dealing with the stress in your body is separate from the process of dealing with the things that activated the stress in your body. There's your stress, and then there's your stressors, and the strategies for dealing with the things that cause your stress. So, for example, if you're, I don't know, maybe you're a woman, for example. A couple of people here might be, and maybe you have a boss who isn't always awesome. The way you deal with your stressor is you go, thank you for that feedback. And then you walk out and you go, the first one, thank you for that feedback, is dealing with the stressor appropriately, because you want to keep your job. The second one is dealing with the stress itself. So let's talk about the stress itself, because it turns out, because we are monkeys, and we're monkeys, not just apes, because you can't evolve out of a clade. That's a sentence I can use here, and it makes me happy. Because we're monkeys, our biology doesn't differentiate much. It differentiates a little, but not much, between evolutionary stressors and modern day stressors. So we're going to talk about what our body's physiological response is. First thing that happens is you are confronted with a stressor. For example, being chased by a saber-toothed tiger. These illustrations, by the way, are from Erica Moen, the cartoonist who also illustrated Come As You Are. And your whole body floods with adrenaline and cortisol and glucocorticoids, oh my! And the purpose of all of this chemistry, which results in massive changes in your physiological functioning, your heart rate goes up and your blood pressure goes up and your digestive system gets suppressed and your immune system gets suppressed and blood moves away from the surface of your skin because if you get cut, you bleed less that way, like massive attention changes so that you are focused on like the here and now, tunnel vision, I just need to fix this one problem, so you lose creativity when you're stressed out, all so that you can what? Yeah. And when you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, what do you do to survive? Run. You run. Yes, absolutely. And when you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger.
Emily, the running is an animation.
At this point, there's only two possible outcomes. Either you get eaten by the saber-toothed tiger, in which case none of the rest of this matters, or you escape. So let's imagine a world where you manage to run back to your village this very thing. You're faster than a saber-toothed tiger in this hypothetical situation. And you, like somebody sees you coming and they wave you into the door and you both stand with your shoulders against the door and you roar in the scraping at the door and eventually this saber-toothed tiger leaves up, walks away. Going to find somebody else to feed to her children. And when You see the saber-toothed tiger walk away. How do you feel? Relieved. Grateful to be alive. You love your friends and family. The sun seems to shine brighter. You want to tell this story. And oh, are you going to tell this story over and over and over again? That is the complete stress response cycle. And it's easy to think that it is the running that completed the stress response cycle. It's easy to think that it is the disappearance of the saber-toothed tiger, the dealing with the stressor that got rid of the stress, that completed the stress response cycle. It turns out running is great. It is one of the most effective and efficient strategies for completing the stress response cycle, because when that stress response gets activated, it's for activating you to escape, to survive, as so many people said. But running is not always available to all of us all the time. Fortunately, we have more than 7 concrete, specific, evidence-based strategies for completing the stress response cycle, which will put you in a good enough physical and mental state to be able to deal with whatever the stressor was in the first place, because alas, we are almost never chased by saber-toothed tigers anymore. In order to get unstuck, because most of us are walking around with countless incomplete stress response cycles, the beautiful thing about the human body is it'll just hold on to it for us. Like, it gets activated and it's like, oh, you're not gonna do anything about this? Cool, I will stuff this in another organ system. Maybe it's your digestive system, maybe it's your musculoskeletal system. You may have an intuition about which organ system your body chooses to put your incomplete stress response cycles. Fortunately, it will hold on to that for you for as long as it needs to. It will eventually cause disease, but that's in the long term. You can get unstuck. All of those incomplete stress response cycles in your body, you can get unstuck if you deal with the stress itself, which is a separate process from dealing with the things that cause the stress. Ready? 7 concrete, specific, evidence-based strategies. We're going to complete the cycle. We're going to go through the tunnel.
The first thing, as Emily was saying, is physical. Who knew that exercise is good
for
them?
you?
Did you already knew? This is the main reason why. And at a population level, your body, at a population level, bodies learn that they have the capacity to move you from danger to safety when you move them. Emily, my identical twin, raised in the same house with me, could go for a bike ride. We grew up in Delaware. She could ride all the way into Pennsylvania to the farmlands with the cows and the sky and come back and feel like the weight of the world is lifted off her shoulders. And I thought she was making it up. Because I, identical twin, raised in the same household, have never had that experience, because at a population level, yes, it's the most efficient thing. That doesn't mean it's true for any one individual. Doesn't mean that the science isn't right that it's the most effective at a population level. It just means it's not true for everybody. And we are a great illustration to show you don't know who is gonna respond to what. There are other limitations to physical activity that people don't like to talk about, like physical ability. I no longer have access to the kinds of physical activity that might even begin to complete a stress response cycle in my body, because
Kiddo.
Yeah.
It used to be very fucking effective for me.
Not
Now I
anymore.
can't do it.
Yeah.
In the Q&A, feel free to ask me how I feel about that.
There might be other reasons, like, say you know that going for a nice brisk walk, strut down the street, you are gonna come back feeling like a new person, like you're ready for anything. You know that you have passed through the threshold of stressed out into a space of readiness, of certainty, of a feeling of safety, and then you get catcalled on that walk. And now that physical activity that was gonna help you manage your stress has become a source of stress, right? You're trans and you're gonna go use the gym, but boy, if you choose to use a locker room, you could be taking your life in your hands. It's just more complicated than exercise is good for your stress. It's so much more complicated, but we have 6 other concrete, specific, evidence-based things you can do. Emily is not going to give her 1 hour talk.
I have fully an hour-long talk about sleep. I am not going to give it. Sleep is good for you. There's a whole chapter about rest. College-age people under the age of 25 in their adolescence, on average, how many hours of sleep do people in that age group require in order for their body to get the rest required to complete the stress response cycle? Because your body's doing amazing stuff in the midst of sleep, and you don't even have to be there for it. It is doing it for you. But how many hours does a person sort of between 15 and 25 need? Yeah, it's like 9.25 on average, which means for some people, it is more. And also people vary. 7 to 9 is the typical range for adults. Again, identical twins, 7.5 hours typically. Amelia has always been a 9-hour sleeper.
That was before I had long COVID. Now it's 10.5, 11.
Yeah, because that's how much, because people, and for, like, did you not have experiences of feeling?
I learned in high school we needed 8 hours of sleep. I would sleep 8 hours and feel exhausted, and I thought I was lazy. Nope, just turns out I'm on the higher end of average.
Yeah, it turns out short sleeper privilege is a real thing. Early bird privilege is a real thing.
That's the schedule capitalism shows.
Yeah, 100%. I am both a short sleeper
Emily,
and...
you're talking about way too much about sleep. You should talk about the stress response thing and then move on. Sorry.
So,
you're a good sister.
Okay, so we're going to talk about, in deep sleep, what happens is the physical healing. If you're a person who engages in physical activity and benefits from it, if you do not get adequate deep sleep in particular, your body is not going to heal from the damage you did to it with the physical activity, so you're not going to get stronger. Physical activity is not complete without sleep. If you study and you don't sleep, your brain gets nice and smooth and slippery and stuff doesn't stick to it. So it is not worth studying if you're not going to sleep. All-nighters are I'm not going to talk about it. REM sleep, which is the sort of like dreaming, hyperassociative phase of sleep, is your emotion processing, when your brain is like putting together all the emotional experiences you've ever had in your entire life. My husband texted me that he had a dream about walking from Florida to Massachusetts because he had to come take care of the dogs, because he's all alone right now with the dogs, and the more he walked, the further he got. Like, that was his brain working out his stress response. What a gift it is that his body could complete the stress response cycles in his sleep. We're done. Sleep is really important. Get a lot of it. Ask questions.
Ask questions about sleep. There's so much more that she would love to be saying right now, but as a conductor, I'm trained really firmly about keeping to a schedule. Like, my audience is usually instrumentalists who are being paid by a union. So like, I'm not being strict because I'm a jerk. It's a strength I bring to this relationship. The third concrete, specific, evidence-based thing you can do to complete a stress response cycle is engage your imagination. Because the good news is your brain doesn't really know the difference between doing a thing with your body or imagining doing that thing with your body. You put famous research, you put a pianist in an fMRI machine, have them play a little electric keyboard, see where the brain lights up, take away the keyboard, have them imagine they're playing that electric keyboard, same parts of the brain do the same work. Your brain doesn't know the difference between what's happening and what you're imagining is happening. Not much. That means that when you're sitting on your couch with a controller on your hand, moving literally just your thumbs, this is not an aerobic workout. And yet, when you are rescuing the princess from the dragon or whatever, your heart is pounding, your breath is coming faster. You are experiencing all of the physical experience of completing a hero's journey, of going from a state of danger into a state of safety, so that when you get to the end of the game, or the movie, or the show, or the book, when you want to like stand up and cheer at the end, your body has gone through the physical experience, even though you didn't do anything with your body. That's the power of using your imagination to complete a stress response cycle. I do want to make this one little caveat, because it sounds like engaging with entertainment does the thing. And there is a difference between entertainment that completes a stress response cycle, that makes you feel a thing, that changes your physical state, versus entertainment that is soothing, that is numbing. So if you can sit and stare, I play a game where I just swipe on my phone, right? We all have the phone swipe. We watch the shows that make us go, British Bake Off. People being nice to each other for low stakes, right?
I love it.
That is numbing. And it is an important part of the process because burnout, stress, like any wound, needs to be treated both with, cleaning out the wound and stitching up the cut. And if the hospital sent you home after just stitching it up when not numbing anything, you would have received poor health care. Not just because you'd be like, ow, why are you so mean? But also because relieving pain leads to better healing. Healing itself can cause stress that pain itself can cause stress that slows healing.
Yes.
So in the healing process of dealing with burnout and stress management, if you need to eat a pint of Ben & Jerry's using Pringles for a scoop, because that makes this moment here tolerable and gets rid of the pain so that you can live to do the next hard thing you have to do,
Yeah.
do it.
There's research. Refined carbohydrate is analgesic.
Yeah. It is, if you went to the hospital and all they did was numb you up and send you home and they didn't clean out the wound and didn't stitch it up, that would also be terrible medical care. You gotta do both. But so entertainment can serve as numbing potentially, but the one that completes the stress response cycle is the one that makes you want to stand up and cheer, makes your heart rate faster, gives you a physical experience of having achieved something.
Yeah. Which brings us to creative self-expression of some kind. So for me, it's writing. I had a particularly difficult day at work. That's all I need to say. And I needed to come home and I'd absorbed a whole lot of people's very difficult emotions. So I was writing a romance novel. I skipped right to the proposal scene of my romance novel. I put my hero on his knees, begging to deserve the love of my awesome heroine. And I'm sobbing on my keyboard, and I can feel my body transforming all of that stress I absorbed from other people into this story of the happily ever after that I am creating. It's not going to be writing for everybody. For some people, it's going to be knitting little booties of rage. It's going to be painting or sculpting or theater. Oh my God,
singing,
any
or playing in a band.
Music.
Writing songs.
So good for you. Engage in any kind of storytelling in particular is good, so good for you. And again, your brain doesn't know the difference between a fictional thing and a real thing. Not much. So using your imagination and creativity in this way. One pro tip, make it something you're never going to be awesome at so that you're never tempted to monetize it. And turn it into your job. Because there's no faster way to make something you love to do that makes you feel awesome. She gestures to the professional musician. There's no faster way to make your creative self-expression no longer good for managing your stress than to make it your job.
That's real.
That's real.
So we are now on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th concrete, specific, evidence-based thing you can do to manage your stress right now. And probably there are some of these you went, oh yeah, I'm a natural exerciser. I can go for a run. I come home feeling great. I play this game and I know it helps me. I belong to a drum circle and whenever I come back from the drum circle, I feel safe and
Big ups
home
for
again,
drum circles.
right? So you probably already know which of these work for you and which of these are hard for you. And this is another one where we can illustrate the differences because the next one is a big old cry. And Emily could come home from high school.
15 years old, auditioned for the play, did terribly, came home, closed my bedroom door, sobbed for 15 minutes, and I was over it.
And I had to be taught by my therapist in her office how to cry.
When she was in grad school.
When I was in my 30s. It took someone with a PhD from Yale to teach me how to cry. So if you are someone who knows that you can lock yourself in your car, sob for 5 minutes and feel much better, do that. If you are someone who goes, I never understood why that works for people, there are techniques you can do. If there are people here who are interested in knowing that, please ask in the Q&A. Hey, Amelia, how do I cry in a way that doesn't just make me cry nonstop forever?
Yeah.
The next one is closely related.
just like a big old cry is your body, because the thing is, like, you sob and you move through it, your body goes through the tunnel, and you come out at the other end. People are afraid if they start crying, they're never going to stop. That's just not how bodies work. Laughter is another one of those things where your body physiologically releases just the stuff that you've been holding on to. Oh my God, 10 minutes! Releases all the stuff you've been holding on to. Now, we are not talking about social, poised, that kind of laughter. It is the helpless, belly aching, crying, like it hurts you're laughing so hard, especially if you're laughing with other people. It can be laughing over a shared memory.
Or it can be just remembering a time that you and your friend did that. And the last thing that we're going to talk about, that's people's favorite thing, I'm sorry, we're going faster, that's just all there is to it. And the last thing, people's favorite thing is loving connection. 20-second hug, not about the 20 seconds. It's about the time you and somebody you really love and trust spend in close physical contact, and you wait long enough that your body shifts.
You'll feel it. Go,
oh, that's right. I'm safe here. And it doesn't have to be a connection with another person. It can be a connection with an animal, a loving divine presence, your own inner child, the ocean, the nature, connection. And the unnamed burial, holy shit, we have 30 more minutes of things to talk about. Can you do human giver syndrome super fast?
Yes, so we've adapted a new language.
Hold on, this is the barrier. Just to be clear?
Yeah.
Those are all the things
like,
you can do.
again, you're all like, oh, friends are good for me, sleep is good for me, exercise is good for me. Why don't I do those things? This is why. It's because on the day you were born, people slapped a label on your body, and they cast you in a role that you are supposed to play. Some of us, this is like 99-point-something% of us, were cast either into the giver role, and you were given this handbook that taught you to be pretty, happy, calm, generous, unfailingly attentive to the needs of others, warm and agreeable, regardless of the cost to you. And some of you get cast in the role of the winner, to be strong, stoic, ambitious, competitive, independent, infallible, and confident. And I'm not saying anyone in particular gets cast in any particular role, except I am. And there are two problems with this. One, if you get taught that you only have certain emotions available to you, and you are stuck in some stress response, and you're like, but I don't have any rage, Emily. Because you got taught from the day you were born you don't have any rage. How are you going to complete the stress response cycles associated with rage? And if you get taught that you're not ever lonely, how are you ever going to know that you need connection? And the other part about it is, so these are the only emotions you're allowed. These are the emotions you get. If you're a human winner, you are allowed to be angry or allowed to
go faster.
Winning and horny, happy, grateful, and supportive, exclusively if you're a human giver.
Okay, and this creates...
We hurried so Amelia could sing a song.
We hurried so I could get to Chekhov's ukulele. Because this is how you're going to remember the thing long term. Go ahead and hit the thing. There's a gap between who we are and who the world tells us we're supposed to be. No, don't. It's supposed to... Whatever, you can just leave it. Song goes like this. Who does the world say that I should be? And what do I do if I don't agree? Rational me says that I am enough. My primate brain says not fitting is rough. Solutions are clear, I should be myself and deal with the world when it puts me through hell. Or easier still is to be what they say. That only requires I give my soul away to the abyss, abyss. Two opposite goals here ask you to choose. Whichever you pick, there's something to lose. But you're not alone, we're all on this road. And going together is a journey of hope through the abyss, abyss.
There's a chasm. Yeah, right? Between who you truly are and who the world taught you you are supposed to be. What do? We're
going to skip the story metaphor. Click. The answer is Hunger Games, but we're not going to explicit that, and we're just going to sing this
Remember
song about
who the real enemy is.
it. Yeah.
The real enemy is not any of the children who are trapped in the dome with you. It is the people who trapped us in this dome together.
And the solution, how that looks in real life, is that burnout is not, the cure for burnout cannot be self-care. Because when you are trapped in the arena, when you try to just fight for your own life, 90%, everybody but one person's gonna die in the arena. And when we all care for each other, nobody slips through the cracks. But that means we need to surround ourselves with those people who are going to turn toward our needs and say, not, oh, you got 9 hours of sleep last night? Well, I was awake till 3 a.m. baking cookies for Becky's birthday party, but good for you, 9 hours of sleep. Self-care is so important. Instead, you surround yourself with people who care about your well-being as much as you care about theirs. And there's a song about that too that's much more fun than me just doing the thing. Did you get the thing? Oh, okay, sure.
Just do it. Yeah.
I want to do and be everything that the world has demanded of me. Sometimes I feel I don't deserve love, not until I'm productive enough. That's when I need supplementary help to reinforce my boundary. In the bubble of love, I am enough. In my bubble of love. They're people who care about my well-being as much as I care about theirs. It's better when I sing it, right? We guard each other from outside messages, showing each other we care. 'Cause I wanna want and like all the goals that the world has set for my role. Sometimes I fear I don't deserve love, not until I'm successful enough. That's when I need supplementary help to mind what gives a life meaning. In my bubble of love, I am enough. In my bubble of love.
I'm here to prove that you don't have to be a professional musician to sing in public.
Oh my God, we actually made it within the last, oh God.
Sort of.
We did it.
Sort of.
Sort of. Yeah.
Please ask questions. We skipped so much.
Yeah.
But also we have a whole page of questions from one of the ultimate badasses on the face of the earth. So it's going to be an amazing conversation.
Wellness, not a state of being, state of action. Wellness is the freedom to oscillate through all the cycles of being human. We didn't say explicitly, but here it is the chance to say burnout's caused by accumulating incomplete stress response cycles that are imposed upon your body by unceasing
Just take a
demands
picture.
and unmeetable goals. And to cure burnout, you got to complete the stress response cycle with movement, sleep, love, creativity, imagination. And a near universal barrier is the human giver syndrome, AKA the gender mirage.
Because it seems like it's there, like any mirage. It really seems real until you get closer.
And to defeat that, you need to remember who the real enemy is, not everybody else who's down here fighting for resources that we've been told are limited, even though we kind of just invented most of them, like money. We made that up, and we're going to claim that it's limited? Oh. Anyway, and of course, to be surrounded by the, surrounded by the bubble of love and the people, and the magic trick we're going to do when we talk about meaning.
And that is the PowerPoint presentation portion.
Wow. Wow, this was incredible. So I have lots of questions about sleep, so why don't we start there?
Yes.
Okay.
Take a break, go ahead.
I'm ready.
I'm actually just kidding.
Okay.
Oh, man. I have so so much to say about sleep. It's so important, and there's so much science.
I know you do, but we want everyone to read the books.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we want everyone to read the books. So I wanted to start by asking a little bit about what you just talked about, because I read the book and I felt like it was so helpful to me. And I thought there are so many quotes that I've been using since I read the book. I've been talking a lot about it and talking with you. So I thought I might throw out a few quotes that I thought were great and just have you talk about them.
Great.
Does that sound good? Yeah. Okay. So we've talked a lot about facing challenges and how so much of it is about reconceptualizing how you think about challenges. And so what I think, my assertion, if I understand this correctly, is that we need to prioritize connection, meaning making, and rest. See, I got that in there. Okay. So I'd like to ask you a few questions about some of these things. First is a quote. Meaning is found. It's not found, it is made.
I have a song about that.
Okay?
Oh, the song is the Cabbage song. I don't play this much because we say meaning is a leafy green, and I've been told by Emily that cabbage is not technically a leafy green.
It's a brassica.
It's a brassica. But the notes, the letters C-A-B-B-A-G-E are in.
Can I do like 2 sentences of introduction?
All right.
So when we say meaning is made, not found, it's because you make meaning in your life by engaging with something larger than yourself. And I was like, it's like you have to eat the kale in order to get the nutrients. You have to be in the sunlight to make the vitamin D. You have to engage with your something larger to make the meaning. And I was like, so it's like a leafy green. And I was like, it's like cabbage, but then cabbage is a brassica. But all the letters in cabbages are notes on a keyboard, so Amelia wrote a song.
And the research shows there are 3 ways to achieve meaning through engaging with your something larger.
3 types of something larger.
And so I'm gonna sing them. C-A-B-B-A-G-E, meaning is a leafy green kind of. Grow it yourself by listening. Play or connect or sing with me. Emily, give me a 1.
1.
No, give a 1.
1.
Leaving a legacy behind.
2.
Or heeding the call to serve mankind.
3.
Or loving someone, that's enough. C-A-B-B-A-G-E, meaning is kind of a leafy green.
So what were the 3? Leaving a legacy.
Leaving a legacy behind.
Serving,
Heeding
service.
the call to serve mankind, or loving someone, that's now you'll remember forever.
It's also in chapter 4.
Yes.
No, 3.
I wanted to call it vitamin Y. Get it? But Emily thought that was cheesy.
Okay. All right, moving on. So another quote, happiness versus joy.
Right. This isn't actually our quote. This is Brittany Cooper. Brittany Cooper stands. Y'all.
All right, more Brittany Cooper stands. Body's Not Apology is a book that's highly recommended.
No. Body's Not an
About
Apology is Sonia Renee Taylor.
Oh my God, so
racist.
I got him confused. I'm sorry. I forgot.
Eloquent Rage is Brittany
Eloquent
Cooper's book.
Rage. Sorry. They're next to each other on my bookshelf, and what can I do?
Yeah, so Eloquent Rage, Brittany Cooper writes that happiness is about happenings. It is the circumstances of your life, whether or not life is going well. Joy is about feeling a firm sense of connection to your purpose in life. We just talked about 3 ways to engage with your something larger, to have purpose, and most of that is going to come through connection with other people. I'm going to skip the long story part and just skip to, it is a normal part of the human condition to need to be told that you are enough and to need to remind the people you care about that you are enough. That reminder to each other, that kind of connection is a profound source.
You meant reminding them that they are enough.
That they are enough, that's what I meant, thank you very much. Joy comes from the connection with something larger and your community, which is much larger, deeper. And because your source of meaning, your something larger, resides within yourself, it can never be taken from you.
The call isn't out there at all, it's inside me.
It's for realsy though, Moana is...
I know the way.
Yeah. For realsy though. Anybody who's happy in the given circumstances of America has been doing a really good job of not paying attention. But that does not reduce our access to joy, because that's not about the present circumstances. It's about our connection to our sense of purpose.
Love it. Okay. So speaking of joy, you tell this story about practicing singing with a chorus.
Yeah.
And I really like that story because it's a difference between aiming for perfection versus having the sound engineer feel joy.
Yeah.
Nobody here's a perfectionist, right?
Right. Yeah. So this story is about dealing not with the stress in your body and not dealing with a stressor that you can change or control. Well, no, it is about dealing with a stressor you can change and control. It's about changing the goal so that you're not trying to do a thing that's perfect. Because like in choral singing, for example, there just is literally no such thing as perfect. It's not 1 + 1 is 2. It is here, embody the spirit of the composers. It's not, there's no such thing as perfect. So how do you feel satisfied when you are singing in a recording session where you sing 3 measures over and over and it gets so tedious and you need to be alive in your body and connected to the intention every time, over and over, and not make it mechanical and bored? You need to set a goal. Good goals need to be something that is soon, certain, specific, concrete, positive, and personal.
It's chapter 2.
It's chapter 2. I'm not going to go in detail, but I will tell you that I've seen this work when you change the goal. In a recording session when we were having this, like, just drilling this same thing over and over again. And I was like, okay, we're going to change the goal. Instead of trying to be perfect in every take, we are going to change the goal to filling Andrew. Andrew was this very cutie patootie recording producer who'd come in and move cables around and adjust the microphones. And then he's listening backstage. Thank you, choir. That was lovely. I need you to take from measure 2 again, beat 3. Yeah, the breath there was a little loud and I heard a page turn. Can we try it again? And our goal was to fill Andrew with joy so that when he listens, he goes, choir, that was really lovely, thank you. We wanted to get that response from him. And so instead of thinking like we have to do this right every time, we're thinking about this person who we all admire, who we know is listening, and the effect we'll have on him. Grammy Award winner. It's such a more meaningful, it was soon certain, specific, concrete, positive, and personal. And it changed how everyone felt in the recording session. Not trying to be perfect anymore, just trying to do something that was important in that moment.
So much so that it gets boring, but eventually a soprano is like, Andrew, are you filled with joy?
And he actually went, yeah, I really am.
Changes everything.
I really love that example. It's great.
A completely true thing.
100%.
Yeah. So I wanted you to talk a little bit about this idea of perfectionism. And you talked about toxic perfectionism. And I thought maybe you could say a little bit about that because,
Because we use the term perfectionism, and I'm a perfectionist. We use that colloquially to mean I'm really interested in doing things as well as I possibly can, and I don't feel really proud of a thing until I know I've put my best effort into it.
And there is nothing toxic about having high standards and being detail-oriented.
Yeah, but when your idea of achieving perfection leads you to believe that if a thing is not perfect, it is worthless, that imperfection, something that's going to be imperfect, you shouldn't even bother starting. That is when perfectionism starts to stop you from feeling joy and
connecting with your something larger.
And the cure for that kind of toxic perfectionism is self-compassion. And I don't know if you want to talk about that separately or if Emily should do a whole thing.
Well, I was actually going to ask about that next, so it's
okay,
perfect
great.
timing.
Yeah, so when you are the kind of perfectionist who feels like it has to be perfect or it is absolutely worthless, or the kind of perfectionist where you feel outside pressure to succeed at every single thing you do, that's probably not familiar to anybody in this room.
No, not at all.
Right? Then you end up having a lot of harsh self-criticism. You have, in the chapter we call it The Mad Woman in the Attic, which is Peggy McIntosh's language from the 80s. As people with multiple diagnosed mental health issues, we feel comfortable reclaiming Mad Woman, which is that voice in your head that beats the crap out of you for being such a terrible failure of a human being. One of the anecdotes,
That's her lashing herself.
so we grew up, our father grew up Catholic, so this is the like hair shirt and lash of like beating the crap out of yourself and inflicting wounds on yourself because you feel like you need to punish yourself for falling short of someone else's standard of who you're supposed to be. In the abyss, the mad woman arises out of the abyss and only has two potential objects. Either she can be incandescent with rage at you for falling short, in which case you beat the crap out of yourself, or incandescent with rage at the world for having these bogus expectations.
Bogus. Sorry, I didn't think you'd say bogus. I thought you were going to say something else.
I'm really trying to like
Not swear.
not, yeah.
Okay.
It is hurtful. So
The mad woman decides, is it your fault
Yeah.
for not achieving what the world told you to do, or is it the world's fault?
So y'all can imagine, I had a speaking gig on a Sunday. Amelia was actually visiting over the weekend that this happened.
It was snowing.
Yeah, it was snowing. There was like a foot of snow on the ground. And I get a text from saying, hey, Emily, we're ready. Where are you? Because I had put the event in my calendar for Sunday. And the event was on Saturday. And I was supposed to be there. I was at home in my pajamas under a foot of snow. No less than an hour away from the event. That expression. So I followed my own advice in this moment. Like I have just screwed up royally. This is the only thing I have ever fully just missed. I've done a bad job sometimes, but I missed it. And so, like, the mad woman in my head, Moana came out while we were watching it, and when I saw Te Kā, the lava monster, throwing balls of lava at Moana, I was like, me. My mad woman is Te Kā, the lava monster. But what does Moana do when she sees Te Kā, the lava monster? Okay, TLDR, spoilers for Moana. Moana is given the heart of Te Fiti, which is a glowing green stone with a squirrel in it, and she has to restore the heart of Te Fiti. She has to cross the horizon, find the demigod Maui, and restore the heart of Te Fiti. And her last worst enemy is Te Kā, the lava monster. And because all Disney and Pixar stories now are like the journey of an individual human through her own psyche, which is what all Jungian storytelling interpretation and dream interpretation is, it's actually Moana has to go deep and confront the worst, most difficult part of herself to restore the heart of Te Fiti. And what she notices is that the swirl at the center of the stone of the heart of Te Fiti matches the swirl on the center of the chest of Te Kā, the lava monster. So instead of fighting, which is what Maui does. Maui gets in full haka mode and is like, I'm a tiny demigod, but I'm gonna get this lava monster. But what Moana does, Moana's superpower is she can see below the surface. She holds up the heart.
I have crossed the horizon to find you.
She says to the ocean, let her come to me.
I know your
She
name.
strides toward the lava monster.
I have stolen the heart with
her hair
you.
waving. And she stands bravely in front of Te Kā, the lava monster.
You.
And she says,
This is not who you are. You know who you are.
she turns toward the lava monster with kindness and compassion. And she says, you know who you truly are. And she stands forehead to forehead with her worst, most dangerous enemy that lives inside of her. And she puts the stone at the heart of Te Kā. and all of the lava drops away. And this monster transforms into Tefiti, the goddess of abundance and life. The moral of the story is I was sitting here beating the shit out of myself this January in Western Massachusetts, and I turned toward Teka and I was like, what do you have to tell me? What do you need from me? I know you're trying to help. This is not who you are. I'm not going to beat you up. I'm not going to beat myself up. We're going to get through this together. What do you need from me? And she said, my lava monster comes, I'm like breathing breath together with her. She says, because you have made this mistake, you're never going to get another job. They're going to know that you're a total fake and a loser, and you're going to die alone. I'm trying to keep you safe. She was trying to keep me safe. And I thanked her. I recognized that she was working really hard, and it must be exhausting to have to work that hard. I'm literally just sitting in the living room sobbing, imagining this. This is internal family systems work for people who are interested. Yeah, parts work, yay!
We're going to quote Moana and several therapeutic modalities.
Yes.
That's just what you get.
It sounds like wackadoodle nonsense, storytelling Moana. I'm talking to myself, but
Firmly science-based.
There's so many references for this. I had to cut a full paragraph of like different therapeutic modalities that do this kind of work because the editor was like, this is very boring. But it's totally evidence-based. The point of it is that self-compassion is the intervention that is the opposite of the harsh self-criticism that is so dangerous. It is so easy to believe. Oh God, I should stop talking. One more. Okay, so when the mail carrier drops off the mail, our dog goes bananas. And then the mail carrier goes away. And our dog is convinced that the mail carrier goes away because she went bananas. Here's the thing. The mail carrier was going to go away anyway, right? So many of us believe, like, I have gotten so far in life. Anyone in this room has accomplished so much in life. It is really easy to believe that we got this far in life because we beat the crap out of ourselves. We were going to do it anyway. Imagine if we had been working this hard and we had not been inflicting injuries on our own psyches this whole time and having to work with those injuries and do the healing from those injuries. What if we were not beating? What if we were so strong because we were not constantly opening wounds that we're trying to close?
And a key difference in what the research shows, this turning toward your inner madwoman, is different from like the popular notion, which is like, just shut off that inner voice and ignore it. You don't need all that hate in your brain.
Tell it to go away.
Yeah. If you just tell Teka to go away, that Teka's gonna get even more mad at you, right? That's what happens in the story, and it turns out that that's not an effective way to deal with, it doesn't give you the benefits of self-compassion. That when instead of just like shutting down that inner critic or ignoring it, pretending it doesn't exist and trying to move forward, like that's still in there. The effective thing to do is to turn toward it, to turn and face the strange and be like, this is a hard thing to confront. And doing that in many situations, turning toward the hard thing is what's gonna get you to healing and recovery.
This is the last chapter because it is the hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
Wow. So I want to take that in for a moment because I want to skip around to a question that I think is connected to this, that I think speaks to this, because I think it's pretty deep. Because this all makes perfect sense to me as a therapist and referencing these different modalities. So it's this concept of knowing what's true and facing what's uncomfortable, and how that's different from acceptance. So that really struck me as a really important distinction and connected to what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
Do you agree? Is that true? Is that all part of what you're saying?
100%. My bad day was related to being confronted with multiple people's trauma in a day. I trained as a therapist. I did not become a therapist because I don't have the magical thing that it takes to sit with people in pain over and over and say, What was that like for you? I don't have that magical thing. I'm an educator by temperament. Some people can do both. So helping do education around trauma stuff is what I got confronted by students with the idea of like acceptance, which in like Buddhist practice, as it gets translated into English, the word acceptance gets used, and that feels like accept that this is true and will always be true forever. And that's not actually what it means. So instead I use the phrase observational distance. If you're like in the stream, if you're in the rushing river of your own internal experience, if you can take one step out of the rushing stream and witness it instead of being in it, you can know that that is like, this is the thing that's happening right now, and you have to acknowledge the given circumstances. Nothing, James Baldwin famously, nothing can be changed until it is faced, but nothing that is not faced can ever be changed. Yep. And our job is to acknowledge what's actually happening in the here and now. That is not the same as believing that we can't change it. In fact, the only way you can change it is to recognize 100% of what is true. This also comes from my work as a sex educator, where I tell people, I teach people to live with confidence and joy inside their bodies, and a student raised her hand and said, can you please define those terms? And I was like, I'll get back to you next week. And what I figured out, and indeed this is very parallel to the work of Sonia Renee Taylor, confidence is knowing what is true about your body and the world and the things that you've been taught about all those things. And joy is the hard part. Joy is loving what's true about your body and the world and what it's like to live in this moment. So that's the hard thing, is recognizing all the things that are true. The things you've been told should be true.
I'm gonna add an active practice, a thing that people can do, and that is I started learning Tai Chi is one of the first things I did to help myself recover from the burnout that put me in the hospital. Let's do a thing, huh? So if you can sit in whatever way is comfortable for you, I'm gonna sit forward. If you wanna like rub your hands together and get like a little bit activated in your body and aware of the energy that's happening inside you, you're gonna reach out to the world in front of you, scoop up some of the universe and like look at it in front of your face. And this is, we're at MIT. We are on the North American continent, on the planet Earth, in the solar galaxy, and the universe, as infinite as it might be. Look at all of that. And then we're gonna just like settle back into a comfortable position. I'm gonna let my hands kind of hang here like this. And we're gonna call this mountain pose. It feels comfortable and stable and sturdy. And then we're gonna like reach out and scoop out and grab some more of the universe and look at it as it is, like America as it is. And our bodies as they are, and our day as it has been. And you know what is also in this scoop is the past, history, as it has always been. And in this scoop is also the future of what is possible that's gonna happen next. And we look at it, and we're gonna call this tiger, and we're gonna like, okay, we'll let that go and like return to mountain. And then we're gonna scoop up some more of the universe. We're gonna take a look at it, the tiger, as violent and scary, and also like a nurturing parent could be a thing that a tiger is, and soft and cute and fuzzy, and also really sharp teeth and all the things that a tiger can be. And we're gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna embrace everything that a tiger can be, and I'm gonna return to mountain. And in Tai Chi, like there's a lot of gestures that could be associated with this. This is kind of like scoop up the universe and look at it, and then return to mountain. Embrace Tiger, Return to Mountain is a active practice for teaching your brain that it doesn't need to react to fear and uncertainty with a fight or flight response every single time. You can look at, oh my God, that's really dangerous. Oh, look, I have access to mountain still. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Oh,
It does. It not only made sense, but it felt really nice.
okay, good.
We are talking about dark things, but our goal is for you to feel better by the end.
Yes. And with that in mind, I have one last question before we open it up to the group. It's about the practice of practicing gratitude.
Oh yeah.
So
Gratitude, everybody.
I would like you to talk a little bit about your ideas about practicing gratitude, because a lot of people practice expressing gratitude. They write about gratitude, they journal about gratitude, but you had a new take on it that I really appreciated and have incorporated into my own practice.
Yeah.
So I was hoping that first you could share it with everyone, and then second, I wanted to express my own gratitude for being able to meet both of you and for your work.
That was both very nice and very smooth.
Can I
Good
ask what the thing
content
is
and
that you've-
excellent rhetoric. Like just, mwah.
What is the thing that you've incorporated?
Well, I love the way that you were talking about being more specific.
Yeah.
So when I think about gratitude, you know, you've been, I don't know, sort of indoctrinated in the world that this is a good thing to do. But it's done in generalities. And so the way that you all talked about it was it really does need to be specific and detailed around your own life. And that really helped me to think about every day, and also in terms of setting an intention for the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing about our new take is that our take is just reporting what the research into gratitude actually says,
Yeah.
as opposed to just doing like the popular version of like, keep track of what you're grateful for. It turns out that's not what the research says is an effective intervention.
And when I tried doing it that way, I felt like an asshole.
Look at all this stuff I have. Why am I not more grateful all the time?
And also, like, yeah, I'm really grateful to have a roof over my head, and also this apartment is enormously overpriced, and I'm going into debt for it while I'm getting this degree that I'm so fortunate to be able to get, but I am exhausted all the time from this degree. So I hated gratitude, and then I read the research, and I was like, oh, that's different. So there's two. One is gratitude for who you have, is gratitude for how things happen. Gratitude for who you have is the easy one. It is like, especially if you can write it down, write a letter to a person who has been really important and impactful for you, who has provided you with resources, who has provided you with emotional support, instrumental support.
I wrote a gratitude letter to my clinical depression because it taught me so much. I don't want anybody to have to feel like I should be grateful for things that cause me to suffer, but it's a thing that's possible.
Amelia actually sings a song called Gratitude, and she sings it to her depression. It's very moving and effective.
Yeah.
So that's one. And boy, if you want like a big shot of well-being that will last a long time for you and the other person, read that letter out loud to that other person.
Can we do the magic trick?
Let me say how things happen. So what the research actually says about like gratitude for like life events is like, what's a thing that happened today that you're grateful for? What are the circumstances surrounding it that made it possible for this to happen? Like, I'm grateful to have a roof over my head. How did this happen? Oh, we could buy a house because my husband's excellent human being of a father died. And we got enough money to be able to put a down payment on a house. Like and suddenly, I'm grateful to have a roof over my head is I am profoundly grateful for the human being responsible, at least in part, for raising this excellent human being who is my favorite person on earth. So it's not about the roof anymore. It's about like the generations of humans who created the human who shares a home with me. And that's in the last chapter, like there's the full details of like the step-by-step. You do it every day, it changes your brain.
Yeah.
Magic trick.
I thought maybe we could end really with the magic trick because, okay, so the thing we talk about is the magic trick is a combination of many things we've talked about already today, which is moving your body in time and space in connection with other people toward a shared goal. And we're gonna count backwards from 10, that's our shared goal, but we're gonna do it by going 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then going 10 with your other hand, and 10 with your foot, and 10 with your other foot. You can stand up if it makes you happy to do that. I'm gonna do it sitting down, because standing up makes me fall over.
I'm gonna stand up with my cane.
Okay, so we're gonna
do 10,
count
and then you
backwards
do it
from
9,
10, and then we'll go from
9,
9, and
9,
here's the trick.
9.
You have to do it in your good news voice. Like, you have good news for somebody who's way over there, and you go, I have good news. Can you all say, good news? Good news! In your good news this voice, you're going to count backwards from 10 and shake. Go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 9, 7, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 9, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, almost there. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Yay! Moving in time with others toward a shared goal. That one's called the countdown shake, but dancing, singing, marching in a protest, worshiping together, these are all things that hook into going to a concert where you all sing a lot. These are all ways to hook into that same yeah. Does anybody feel better now than when we started? Yeah. Yay, okay. Mission accomplished.
So we have questions, I'm sure, from the audience and also virtually. And so we have Sylvia in the back. Do you want to start? And please raise your hand if you would like to ask a question. We have a question in the front.
I'm going to start over there.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. And there's Emily as well. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you so, so much for being here and for this talk and for the conversation and for the book. I enjoyed all of it very thoroughly. And very, very humorous conversations. I really enjoyed, so thank you so much.
We talk about the patriarchy a lot, so.
In the book, I really, really appreciated the notion of how important it is to find meaning and how that can be very helpful. And also, I really was intrigued by and appreciated the idea of how we can find meaning from experiences that are sought after and desirable and that are pleasant. And at the same time, while there are experiences that we didn't desire and didn't want, it's still possible to make meaning from those and how that can be really, really helpful to do. I'd love to hear any further thoughts you might have on that or any examples or anecdotes you might have from people you've worked with or things you've witnessed.
Yeah, so I feel inclined to tell the story. Anybody here willing to say they were old enough to vote in the 2004 election? Oh yeah,
Not many,
remember that? So I was in grad school at the time. I'm a sex educator. My work was directly and immediately impacted by the policies of the federal government. The 2000 election was was the first time I was like, oh shit, our democracy is crumbling. I should maybe do something. So I invested a lot in the 2004 election. I got trained in how elections happened. I considered dropping out of grad school and working for a political campaign instead. But so I spent a week leading up to the election volunteering in Ohio, a crucial swing state in 2004.
Yeah.
And I drove home on election night, the results were coming in, it was sounding really good. I woke up the next morning, I had put 2 years of my life invested in this election. And what everybody told me was that if I work really hard, if everybody just does everything they can, we're gonna make this happen. And John Kerry, but let's make John Kerry happen. And I woke up and I went to my best friend's house and he was sitting in the living room watching the news and I was like, it's bad. And he was like, it's 100% all the way bad. And I cried the kind of crying that fluids are dripping from every orifice in your face, can't breathe, despair, because I had done everything they told me I was supposed to do in order to accomplish a goal. And I was crushed and got as depressed as I've ever been in my life. I didn't know what to do next. And the question was about how do you find meaning in the really terrible things that can happen? And It took me several months to figure it out. But I figured out that my job as a sex educator, as a health educator, was to help people, to teach people to live with confidence and joy inside their bodies, to be able to experience pleasure inside their bodies, to have access to full bodily autonomy. And every day that I do that work is a day that I am doing something about whatever is going to happen over the next 4 years, because whatever was about to happen over the next 4 years was really bad. It was just as bad as we expected. And what's happening now is even worse. And again, I invested real hard, but this time I knew that even me doing the absolute most I could do, and the most I could do this year was so much more than what I could do when I was a grad student, and it still wasn't enough. But because I am still anchored to my something larger, it's inside me. It's like the tide, always falling and rising. Your sense of connection with your something larger. I am fortunate to be able to articulate specifically why I'm on Earth is to teach people to live with confidence and joy inside their bodies. And any day I do that, some days it's easier to access. It's like the tide, it's always falling and rising. Some days it is more difficult. But any day that I have access to that is a day that I have led a meaningful life. What meaning does is enhance and enrich the good times in your life and give you an anchor to continuing to exist through even the worst of circumstances. You'll probably remember the story from World War II, a journalist traveling post-war through the countries that had been invaded by Germany. This journalist wandered into a basement where a family of Jews had been hiding through the entire war. And on the wall, written obviously in German, was, "I believe in the sun even when it's not shining. I believe in love even when I don't feel it. I believe in God even when he is silent." Which of course has been turned into a song that is
It's been set to music several times.
several times, and it's like crushing. But I think about that a lot, and I think about like, just because I don't feel contact with my something larger today doesn't mean it's not there. I can find it again, and it will give me a reason to continue doing the work that I do. Does that make sense?
And at the same time, we can remember that nobody on Moana's island gave 2 bits about the ocean. She felt called by the ocean. And everybody around her was like, no, and no one leaves. We all belong here. We all have a role to play. This is what we're all a part of here on the island. And she felt called by the ocean. And despite nobody else being supportive of that, she went on her journey and did the thing. So sometimes you're not going to get the support, but you're going to get the connection you need from the meaning itself.
Thank you so much. I want to check and see if there are any questions from the virtual audience.
Yes, Amelia, how do you cry?
Amelia, how do you cry is,
The question was, how do you cry?
okay, so here's what you do. You're overwhelmed by the feeling. Something terrible happened, and you are sobbing what you think is uncontrollably. It's just taken you over, and the crying starts to happen. And if you're me, you think, I'm gonna feel like this until the problem is solved. I feel like this because of the circumstances that occurred. And so you keep thinking, I can't believe he did that. I can't believe she said that. And the crying keeps happening. And why would it ever stop until that changes? Turns out, like stress, whatever emotion caused the crying is a cycle with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And if you let it, it just ends. And here's how you do that. You take the thing that initiated the crying and you put it on a little shelf and you think about that later. That's the stressor. You're going to deal with that in a separate process. To deal with this process right here, you turn toward the discomfort of crying and you just notice without judgment or evaluation. Okay, how hot do I feel right now while I'm crying? You know, how many ounces of fluid are dripping out of my face right now? And where is there tension in my body? You're crying and you're noticing, and you're crying and you're noticing, and the thoughts will
Drool
come.
out of your mouth.
And the thoughts will come, I can't believe he said that to me. What an ass. And you put it on a shelf and you're going to deal with it later. But the feelings are all you're dealing with right here, right now. And eventually, you're trying to find the feelings and there's no more feelings because the big feelings are a cycle with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And they end. The trick is the not feeding the crying with additional thoughts about the thing. The key is dealing with the stress and the stressor in separate processes.
Would you say you create observational distance between yourself and the experience of crying?
I'd say you turn to face a difficult thing with observational distance, yes.
Yeah. You step out of the river.
I want to check in with Aya to see are there
Let
any
the snot
questions?
flow like a river.
Okay, perfect. Sylvia, is there anyone on this side? I thought I saw a hand. Excellent.
No one's going to ask about sleep.
I'm going to.
Favorite.
So it's actually like sort of related to the crying question, where like sometimes when I'm stressed out, it's really hard to sleep. And
The number one indicator, like the number one reason people don't get enough sleep is because they're worried about not sleeping.
But I think also just like when you're stressed out, the brain is so active and like, you know, it's just one of those days where the meditation won't work, the music won't work, the old towel or whatever else. So yeah, I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so how do you fall asleep, basically? One, do as much as you can during the day to complete the stress. So how often does stress get activated in your body?
All the time.
At least every day.
Yeah.
So how often do you have to do stuff to complete the stress response cycle?
Every day.
Yeah, like every day. Wax on, wax off. You just have to keep doing it. There will be days when the stress outpaces your ability to drain it off. So if you get in bed when your body is still like this, if your body's like, I'm being chased by a saber-toothed tiger right now, or if you wake up at, say, 3 o'clock in the morning and like as soon as you wake up, your body's like, I'm being chased. Is being chased by a saber-toothed tiger a really good time to be asleep? No, yeah. So what you do is you recognize, oh wait, my body's in a state where it's trying to help me out by keeping me alive, by keeping me vigilant so I don't get eaten. Am I actually being chased by a lion right now? Am I actually now in danger? And sometimes the answer to that question is yes.
Usually?
The answer is, I can get through tonight. I'm safe enough tonight. And a gratitude practice can be incredibly helpful to ground you in like the ways that you are safe. There are two additional ways of doing a gratitude practice. One is gratitude for safety. What are the resources available to you in the here and now that are protecting you? Sometimes it is a locked door. Sometimes it is your best friends. Sometimes it is the meal you ate today. People with a history of food insecurity are going to be like, I ate today. I ate right before I got in bed because my stomach will keep me awake if I don't have food in my stomach when I go to bed. So one is gratitude for safety. What is it that's keeping me safe? And the other is gratitude for pleasure. You think about like what happened during the day. Pleasure is the thing your brain only has access to when you are safe enough. So by tuning, first of all, if you're regularly practicing either one of these, it will tune your brain to what are the things around me that are keeping me safe and what are the things around me that are granting me access to pleasure, which means that when you lie down and you're like, am I safe enough? Does my brain have access to pleasure? You can dwell on those things. Here's a really cheesy recommendation. There's a podcast called Nothing Much Happens. Fans. It's narrated by this Michigander lesbian. Her little bit of Midwest accent, because I lived in Indiana for so long, it just like feels like home to me. And it's these like very quiet, she's a yoga teacher. She tells stories about like, we went for a muddy walk with the pets, and then we washed the dog's feet, and that's the whole story. her goal, the goal is to transition you out of the default mode network, which is like a bad place to be when you're trying to fall asleep and you're stressed out, into a task-focused mode by paying attention to the story. There's a reason why we read children to sleep at night, because it's this like very gentle task that their brain can focus on and slide into sleep instead of letting it do its own thing, because with the way our brains are being stimulated lately, bad things happen if we let our brains to their own devices. Does that help? I had a student who had this brilliant trick. She would lie in bed and she would imagine a field of stars and she would make the stars go out. And before she got all the stars to go out, she would fall asleep.
You had that other student who would, when she couldn't sleep,
Fight against it.
she would imagine the times that she was sitting in class, like,
You know this happens.
so she'd imagine that experience.
How cruel is it that you're sitting in class and you're like, I want my education, and like your brain is like, no. And when you lie down and ready to go to bed, suddenly you're like, So this genius idea of just remember really viscerally and vividly what it felt like to fight sleep, that time that you had to fight sleep. Mm-hmm. It works. It's called the ironic process.
Thank you so much for that. We want to check and see. I think there's time for one more question. We have a raffle, and then we're going to wrap up. And I need to make an amendment. The books have been pre-signed, so there will not be a book signing immediately following our event. Did I see a hand up? Please go right ahead.
2 hands.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited you're here. I love your book. I've read it too many times. But I wanted to ask you about the Star Trek metaphor, which like changed my life, and like the unwinnable game. But I find that like if you're
Kobayashi Maru, yeah.
Yeah, if you're not like holding it, I can remember the word. But if you're not holding it in your mind, it's really easy to lose it. You know what I mean? So I was wondering if you have like some like real world examples of like how to center yourself when you're like in that place of like nothing I'm doing is going right, everything is wrong, and it's all my fault or whatever. Like how to, just some, I guess, real world examples or anecdotes of that.
I can't think of any real world examples
Oh.
of like actually doing it right here. I do think about the Kobayashi Maru all the time. The Kobayashi Maru in Star Trek is part of this training at the Starfleet Academy. The captains go through this thing called the Kobayashi Maru, which is an unwinnable scenario. And the goal is not to win the scenario, it's to see how the captain acts in the event of an unwinnable scenario. How well do you lose, right? I think about it all the time, but I can't think of any real life.
Oh.
Okay, you got,
Yeah.
go.
It's called death. We're all gonna die. Sorry to be confronting.
I mean, that's why I think about the Kobayashi Maru all the time.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like that was like a practical
Life?
Okay.
I mean, unless you have a different kind of faith belief than I have, like, life is an unwinnable game. It is not, you're not gonna win. So it's about how you lose, how you play it every day. Thinking at a larger, especially, so remember when I was talking about when the stress response gets activated, your thinking shrinks and narrows down to just like, I've got a hammer, which means every problem ahead of me is a nail, and I'm just gonna do this one thing, and if it doesn't work, I'm just gonna do it harder. As opposed to when you can step out of it, when you're not activated in the stress response cycle, you can be much more creative and think at a much larger scale to contextualize. So like, yeah, there's those times when you're like, everything is terrible and going wrong, and there's the mad woman in your brain being like, and it's all your fault, you loser. And like, take a step back and be like, this is an unwinnable game. It's about how I play. And like, what are your priorities and values? What are the things that matter to you about the way you navigate this unwinnable scenario? Our dad's not an awesome human being. He's a terrible human being. The one really excellent piece of advice he gave us was, the point of education is to learn how to make them let you out.
We both have 3 degrees.
So, like, we love school, we are good at school, but school is about navigating a system in a way to, like, earn your degree so that you can jet. So when you are confronting problems, whether it is in a workplace or in a school setting, none of the capitalist, cis heteropatriarchal systems through which we are all navigating are designed for us to win. It's unwinnable. There's a reason why the character that we gave the narrative, I know I'm talking too much. There's a reason why we gave that narrative of being a Star Trek fan and finding meaning in the Star Trek fandom. That character is a fat, black, cisgender woman because it's an unwinnable game. The odds are stacked against you. It's about how you play.
There are composite stories in the book so that every chapter something happens to each of these composite characters and you follow a single individual through each of the things that's in the chapter. That's what she's referring to. Sophie is one of those characters.
And what she does by following like the meaning that she gets from Star Trek is like what matters to her in playing this unwinnable game is making sure that the people who come behind her don't have to play the same unwinnable game. They play a slightly easier and more fun winnable game. So like for me, the people who come behind me have a slightly more fun, more enjoyable unwinnable game to play. Like Tetris, right? Does that make sense? Does that help at all? It was a long answer for it not to be helpful, so I hope it was. Can we do what? I know we're so out of time.
We're running behind.
Okay.
But we want to thank you all so much. This was so delightful. Thank you, Emily and Amelia and Karen, for such a wonderful conversation.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for questions.
Thank you all for putting on pants tonight and coming out. We know that's hard.
Hold on, because we actually have the raffles, and so I can't recall how many workbooks do we have? All right. Mary Pietrosco. All right.
Oh.
Can we get a slight bribe? If you get a workbook, tell us one important thing you learned. Doesn't have to be the most important, just one important thing.
Oh, my God. Oh, sorry. I wanted to make sure you were heard.
Oh, I don't know if we need that.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. That last question and discussion was incredibly powerful for me, and just, I can't wait to carry that.
We're all gonna die.
Yeah.
I think I would know that already, but sometimes you need to be reminded.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Anna Cabrera.
Yay. Woo. The book is 80,000 words with 26 pages of references. The workbook is for people who don't need receipts, they just want results.
Thank you so much. Something that really resonates to me was like the difference between joy and happiness, and happiness being the happenings. So thank you so much for that.
Thank Brittany Cooper. Yeah, Brittany Cooper.
Gwendolyn Coburn.
Woo!
I love the unwinnable game, and just a reminder that we get like really small hyper focus when we don't remember that.
Yeah.
Can we think about that one for a while?
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for humoring me with the like one
Extra,
important thing.
Oh, absolutely. Haley Miller.
It's just like just
This is like Oprah.
like I don't know what. What did you do this side of the room?
I think for me, the main thing was just like when you were talking about how you both require different amounts of sleep, just how we're all different.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a little bit different from like the average in a lot of different ways, and that's okay.
Yes, 100%.
Mary Frances Gadi. On the other side of the room.
Thank you so
Like
much.
being on Oprah. I love this.
It was actually the whole, even when I listened to the audiobook, I didn't read the book, and I liked hearing your voices in the audiobook, how often we're stuck in the stress cycle and not completing it and not having realized that we didn't complete it, and that was really revolutionary for me, so thanks.
Me too. That was Amelia's thing.
And our last person this evening is Reem Canoe.
Hey!
Oh, I had to sit in the second row to get a book, apparently.
Importance of sleep.
Yeah.
What a strong way to bring us home. Thank you so much again. For those of you all who are here in person and you would like to enjoy something to eat, we have dinner for you. To those who are virtually, thank you so much for logging on. This concludes our season for MIT Reads. Happy finals, happy studying. We look forward to seeing you who will be coming back either online or in person next fall. And thank you all again for such an amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.